Hi everyone, welcome to week 5. This is the second chapter we're going to cover this week. This is chapter 9 from the textbook about marketing implementation and control. So one of the issues about implementation is we've come through full circle now, or through the process of creating marketing strategies that have to do with assessing the external, internal environments, what the customer's doing, putting together planning, finding what your goals and objectives would be in actual marketing strategies, but there is no plan unless you actually implement it. So the great part about what happens in implementation is you get to find out what's happening, and you get to correct those things that happen, and you get to put in place the types of things that would monitor and respond to what you're doing. And also it's a way for you to be looking at over time, because nothing happens just overnight. Over time, what's happening with the strategies that you've developed and the reaction and response to users in the field. So of course there's an interesting process here, because there's an interdependency within lots of different stakeholders. There is the evolution of what's happened in terms of your plan, and sometimes you will redo your plan as things evolve, as you implement them. And then there's another issue in that you will have different phases in terms of separation between what you thought was going to happen and who planned it, and then what actually happens and who takes part in the execution. So this is a slide from the textbook that just talks about the different people and the types of hours that are spent on the marketing plan as it gets put into, as it's planned and as it gets put into play. So of course, you know, your executives and other teams, depending on the size of your company, your executives and other teams will be an integral part of the planning, the discussion, and the communication on the marketing plan, what the impacts will be, what the future looks like, and what your plans and goals will be. But that over time, the people that are going to be putting the most amount of time in it are, of course, the marketing managers, product managers, or the team that is implementing the ideas and strategies in place. So of course, we have the whole issue of the shared goals and values, but it's a strategy to actually get something to work in a company. And it involves a lot of different factors. It actually involves a lot of factors of the marketing team marketing to the company. So you will be working through, of course, your goals and how they are incorporated into what it is you want to do, even the values of the company, and how your organizational culture works. You're going to be needing to more or less work the marketing structure, and we'll talk more about that. All the different systems, processes, money, resources, and people that are involved in reinforcing and making this happen, and then the leadership and how they support and back you up on the things that you need to do. Because the marketing plan is going to impact the whole company, sometimes uncomfortably, because it might be a lot to do, and it might be something that's happening in a quick or fast way, especially depending on the type of company that you are and the product or service that you're selling. So we don't need to talk about all of this, but that's what I just described. These are all the different interrelated components and stakeholders of launching a marketing plan. And that's what makes it really fun. It's a really high visibility job. So of course, there are different ways that you might be approaching how you market and implement your plan. And these are things that I think most people don't think about, but they can be your sources of resistance or your sources of help when you're launching the marketing plan and it's in its implementation phase. So sometimes organizations do things by telling people what to do. You've just got a certain structure of the organization, and it's told, and people have to make it happen. You can also do things through change management. Sometimes you might have plans that you have to implement as the company's going through structural or even merger or other factors. So you're going to have to do change management, kind of psychological support to the people as things get launched or as the marketing plan unfolds. Of course, a typical thing is that you've got consensus and collaboration that happens when you launch something, or you've got something that's just the culture and the way that it's routinely used as it's exercised or squeezed that it's something that it's cultural as it's a cultural element, or it affects how the marketing plan gets implemented. So a couple things that your book does is it talks about structural things really well that I, of course, never thought about when I was in marketing, but I did describe the fact that you need to market internally what it is you're planning to do, because you're going to be imposing new things on different areas of the company, new efforts, maybe more efforts on their part to launch this product, and you have to find a way to get people to buy in. And then on the other side is how you're going to externally market to customers through emails, direct mail, face-to-face marketing, other things that you do to implement your program. So your internal marketing will be to kind of help people understand where they fit within this elaborate scheme. Are they people that are going to really help and support what you're doing? And I remember when we launched our analyzer in the diagnostics department, or diagnostics industry, we had to talk to customer service a lot. We had to talk to the technical support people a lot. We had to describe what it was that we were doing, because if they were fielding questions about the products, we needed to make sure they were informed of what all the strategies, factors about the product were. And it's one of those things where you develop things like little gifts that you give to your marketing or your customer service team, little gifts that you give to the field or salespeople, ways to get them to think about what the product is, think about the type of energy that they're going to have to put into working alongside you as you market this product. So of course you've got internal marketing plans that need to be a major part of this, and how it is that you're going to affect the different teams, operations, supply chain, etc., to get them on board, to be lined up so that everybody marches forward to implement the plan. And it can be a real problem too if you get resistance because people don't want to do what it is that you and your marketing team have decided to do. So that's always a constant tension. It's pretty fun also, but it's always an issue that you have to think about in terms of part of your marketing strategies and implementation plan. So you could have some things that are what I would call hiccups. Maybe your strategy was unrealistic or inappropriate. Maybe the implementation timing was wrong. Maybe the implementation was poorly done. Or maybe something happened, and this is the most likely thing, and that is that your external environment has changed. Something happened either governmentally, something happened to customers, maybe in the medical diagnostics area, maybe there was some sudden shift to something because of a news report or a negative news story about diagnostic tests. So we were always needing to do like a correct step on marketing plans. It happened very frequently. So you're likely to have resistance internally, but you also are going to have external factors that you need to respond to immediately as well. And again, it's really normal. It's maybe stressful, but it's what happens. Kind of makes you more savvy in your marketing approaches, and the next time you do something, you've got a wider view of what it is that you're doing and why when you market. So these are some of the things that the textbook talks about that are controls. So what's a control? A control is something that you put in place so that when you're launching it, you're assuring that something's going to happen. You're launching your marketing strategies, you're assuring something's going to happen. And they can revolve around things like budgeting and how much money you're going to have, certain terms of the marketing implementation phases. So you may not have as much money devoted maybe to public awareness or other things later on in the implementation, but you're going to have a higher budget regarding the focus of public relations up front, et cetera. It may be that you've really got your controls in place, or that you're gonna have minimum product sold in the first quarter because you're just trying to penetrate customers. But later on, manufacturing needs to ramp up, so your supply chain needs to be ready at another phase in the plan as a control to make sure you've got enough product to sell when the interest peaks. And maybe you've got things in place where you need to monitor what people are saying about your product. You need to collect data on why people are not purchasing something online, why they go through the stages of, awareness and purchase, but they don't repurchase. So you have to do some audits over time as to the success. And then there's things for informal controls, and I think we already talked about this. How do you get people to manage their behaviors, to buy into what it is that you're going to do? How does your organization essentially say, hey, this is important to us, we're going to launch this product, we need all of you on board here, you're valuable, you're part of the, our goals, and we're going to reward you for that. And then really what's happening throughout the entire organization, mostly from the top down and the marketing team out. What are the ways that the organization's planned for how this plan will be accepted and successful? So project management, that's a big part of what it is that you're doing. That's what this is talking about, creating a schedule and a timeline. So you would be looking at multiple factors. There's a schedule and a sequence to what happens. You would determine which activities must go first. Again, it's really fun because you think about the pre-sale promotions that you would do. You think of ways to make your product aware in customers' eyes. You do frequent emails, whatever it might be. But I remember we did trade shows, and we had live people talking about our products. We even had a mime in the booth, if you know what that is. We had a person that was like doing all these funny arm gestures and things when a person sort of demonstrated the product for the first time. Some people liked that, some people hated that. But over time, you're going to just fit things in sequence like you would with any project. And then, of course, the schedule, I think this is obvious as well. You're going to have a quarterly, a half year and a year schedule, depending on what this product is and how long it takes to implement all of the marketing plans. And sometimes they roll out over several years. So you'll have phase 1 is the first year, you'll have phase 2 the second year. A lot of things happen within the course of that time, but you need to determine what your product actions will be, what your service actions will be, what your training actions would be, what your pricing, and then also distribution or other your integrated marketing and communication plans would be. So that's it on chapter 9. It's talking about implementation and control. This is a really wonderful part of any marketing plan and product launch, if that's what you're doing. With respect to your project, your signature assignment, you're going to need to put components of the implementation and control into your marketing plan. So think about those things and think about the Gantt chart or the schedule that we talked about. Think about budgeting and controls that we talked about. It doesn't have to be a heavy part of your marketing plan, but some students actually leave that out, and that's a inappropriate choice. You need to be planning for implementation and how you control the process internally and externally. So again, you're going to have your teamwork working on your signature assignment. One of the things I just want to say is that you're not going to have an actual presentation to do at the end. The signature assignment description may talk about that, but that's because that's a fixed document that I don't get to change from term to term. But your deliverables with your team will be a paper and the presentation. Most of you have already done the midterm, which was a presentation, so you should already have it started. Also, remember that you are responsible to your teammates and that you want to be as responsive as possible. And at the end of this term, at the end of this class, everybody does an anonymous form where they fill out and give feedback on each person that's in their team. So keep being motivated and responsive as you work through your final signature assignment. Thanks for listening, everybody.